Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, we are back. This is another episode of the Government Points podcast. This is episode 5, and I'm very excited about this one. I get really excited about all of these episodes. Y'all know I geek out over the procurement stuff anyhow, but we have the City of Tempe on the episode today, and we're going to go through how to navigate doing business with them. And I am joined by two amazing people, Lisa and Michael. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Good, thank you. Doing well.
Great.
Nice. So, what's been going on in the city? Before I do that, first, let's talk about you. Can you tell us, each of you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Hi, I'm Lisa Goodman. I am a senior procurement officer with the City of Tempe. I've been with the city for over 22 years. I've been in procurement for over 28 years. I have 3 professional certifications. I have my bachelor's degree in supply chain management from ASU right here in Tempe. And I serve on the executive board for the Arizona Capital Chapter of the National Institute of Governmental Procurement. I'm an Arizona native, and here at Tempe, I support many areas, primarily focus on fire medical rescue, economic development, and transit. And I assist Michael with managing our division.
What a resume. Come on, Lisa.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Greene, and I've been with the City of Tempe now about 17 years as the Procurement Administrator. And my career has been pretty much 100% focused to public procurement. I spent some time at our Arizona Department of Transportation, spent some time in our public school system, K-12 schools, and then arrived here at City of Tempe. So I hold several certifications. Again, just like Lisa, I went to ASU and got a supply chain degree. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to visiting today.
It's cool to hear you both went to the same school and pursued the same degree. We always talk about how people just fall into procurement. Like it's not like always on that first list of what someone wants to do. You kind of have to figure out or find out about it along the way. And you are well rounded, Michael, like from the city to the school board to transportation. That's absolutely outstanding. So we can kind of come to you for so many different areas of expertise. So we're definitely excited about that. Now, when it comes down to the city and your roles, can you tell us a little bit more about your respective roles and what that entails?
Lisa?
Like I said, I help Michael oversee a lot of the responsibilities of our area. A lot of that, we do jointly. We oversee a lot of the business outreach that we do. We coordinate a lot of those projects between ourselves. That's takes up a good chunk of our time. We're all about building our staff and their credentials and helping them move forward throughout the procurement process. And we really love it here. We're like a little family, so it's nice.
Yeah, I agree with Lisa. Primarily, managing the office and then supporting all of our departments with all of their resources they need. And I kind of think it's interesting when you speak of role what's our role, and I see our role in that we are the brokers between the marketplace and our internal users in trying to seek out the best value that we can for our departments. And we're fortunate that we have such a dynamic marketplace that we all benefit from throughout the country. And it's that marketplace that is continually improving and driving and pushing new and better products and services. And I see our role as being able to harness that and leverage all of that great work that's going on in the private sector to find how we can use that for our organization. Our city council and mayor really want to make sure that we're doing the best we can for our community. And it's through these outside resources, as long as procurement officers and procurement professionals are keeping an eye on the marketplace and bringing in these great products and services that will directly convey into a better quality of life for our residents.
I love that. So being a good steward of, the taxpayers and just the overall city in general. So I really love the combination that you put together there. I think, it's one of those spaces to where, you really simplified what it is that you do in procurement into a level, into a language that we understand as individuals. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I wanted to kind of roll into, what that looks like from a business standpoint as a business owner that's in the city of Tempe. And I'm wondering, or even outside of the city of Tempe, I'm wondering, how can I provide value to the city? For a small business, do you currently have any small business programs at the city that businesses could engage with on that very first entry level?
Lisa, do you want to talk a little bit about our program?
So we have lots of programs. We have a very open, friendly procurement office. So we're readily accessible. On our website, you can easily find all our information, all our contact information. You can easily identify our areas of responsibility and know who the best contact is in our office to reach out to. Once you contact us, we're happy to understand what it is that your company does and try to find the best fits. We provide you with different contacts in the city if maybe we're not the best contact. But we also help you understand what some of the contracting requirements are, what some of the opportunities are that best meet your business's need, and what you need to do to go about going about getting those. We help them register with our in our system as a vendor. We will meet with them one-on-one, help them understand if there is a solicitation out, we can walk them through it, walk them through the process, help them understand the requirements, because if you're new to government, it's often overwhelming to see all the different requirements and red tape. And so having someone that can coach you through that and help navigate you through that is paramount. So I'll let Michael add on anything that he has.
Yeah, I think it really starts from just being an open shop, an open, friendly voice. And I think that's what we really try to focus on. It's hard to do that sometimes, as busy as things are, but we are constantly trying to remind ourselves that, if we're not being open to the calls and visits and inquiries from our suppliers, then we're really not keeping an eye out, like I earlier said, about the marketplace. So we have to have an active role in being responsive. And we really try to do that. We try to build those connections. If we can identify, if there's a product or service that fits within our city, then we will try to knock on some doors internally for those firms to get their product or service exposed. And so I think that's the heart of it. And the transparency of public sector is always helpful when a small business is looking to try to get into a new environment like our city. We have all of our contracts, all of our existing contracts are on our portal. And so we would certainly direct and talk to our firms about that, but there's an enormous amount of data that resides on our exterior portal to our procurement homepage. And you can search, and there's 3 easy search fields: description of contract, contract number, vendor name, and then you can pull up our contracts and see the pricing, see the proposal. So we're an open book. I think that's part of what the neat thing about public procurement is we are an open book. And there's an enormous amount of data and information that we acquire as we go through these procurement processes. And that is available to suppliers who are trying to break into the market, break into our city, and get that foot in the door. So I would probably stress that.
Wow. So many of you who are new, or people who are listening to the podcast that are here faithfully every week, that as the interview is going, I am going to the websites, grabbing the links and dropping them in the chat. So I am typing away and dropping them in there. And Lisa and Michael just mentioned 2 amazing key points. One, the city of Tempe is an active supporter of small businesses. So that means, like Lisa mentioned, if you reach out and there's something that you can provide support with, they'll point you in the right direction. And that's such a key component for businesses. A lot of times we really want to know how to help, but we don't know which direction to go. So it sounds like if I'm looking to do business with the city, that would be my first contact to get some feedback in terms of, am I reaching out to the right department? So I love that. And as it relates to the small business programs, I actually went and took a look at the links on the website and dropped them in the chat. But does the city currently have any certification style programs that you operate under?
We don't have we don't require a certification for a firm to be declared as a historically underutilized business. We allow them to self-certify through their vendor registration process. The state of Arizona, with their transportation department, they do a lot of the certifications. So if a vendor is seeking to get certified, we'll direct them to go over there. But internally, we just allow them to indicate their business classification, and then we track it and help them from there.
Okay, so just that having that ability to do that certification definitely cuts down on some of the paperwork that's required with certifications. So yeah, that's really cool. Now, what about events to connect with different departments within the city or try to get a better understanding of what's going on? Or is there any training for small businesses? Can we talk about that a little bit?
You bet, you bet. We think that's probably the strongest approach that we can take is through our education and outreach events. And so we worked with our local Arizona Capital chapter of NIGP to establish the very first reverse vendor trade show. And this is a while back, about 12 years ago. We came up with a program where we would maximize. It was all about trying to maximize the time for the suppliers. So we created a venue and a location where we brought in about 40 public agencies throughout Arizona, who are all very willing to outreach and attract firms. And then we would actually sit at the table. So the procurement teams, the agencies would be at the tables, and then we would invite our firms in. And we had roughly we usually attract 700 to 800 companies to individuals to come in for that event. So it's an opportunity stacking event. It's called the Reverse Vendor Trade Show. And we conduct it every year through AZNIGP. It's usually conducted in May. And it's usually the last year we held it at the Tempe Center for the Arts, which is a beautiful venue right on the edge of Tempe Town Lake. It's a gorgeous facility. And so that's one. And then we also partner with some of our local trade associations that are here. And we like to conduct additional outreach events. And we usually will bring in maybe those are a smaller event. And so we do partner with a number of different trade partners that we have in the local area.
I'm such a big fan of a reverse auction. It 40 agencies in one place, like that's absolutely outstanding. So I know businesses were working the room that day. So it's typically done around May, and you do this annually. Is there I guess fee for this event? How does that typically work?
Let me have Lisa chat a little bit about that, because the chair who actually sponsored the most recent one we had, which was a tremendous success. So Lisa, talk a little bit about that.
Oh, thanks. So we don't typically have a theme, but we do have a committee. And it's quite an event to put on, a lot of coordination, a lot of work, a lot of volunteer time to really make the program a success. It varies on the location each year and the sponsoring city. Tempe sponsored it or hosted it last year, and we're hosting it again this year. But in previous years, we've had it at some of the local ballparks, and so that in itself creates its own theme. But we try to just make it easy to the vendors. We try to keep the fees really down for them to attend. We just want to make it available in a one-stop shop, because it can be difficult trying to go to different agencies and trying to figure out, where's the contact for procurement? Who can I talk to? So we've expanded the the agencies. We have some now coming up from all over the state. So they'll come up from Tucson or down from the north part of the state, like Flagstaff and Prescott, and participate. And it's very beneficial. So actually this fall, the city of Tucson is hosting their own reverse vendor trade show. So we're going to travel down there and attend and support their events.
Wow, so the city of Tucson is hosting one, but NIGP hosts one as well. So you kind of get a chance to double dip if you're in those two areas, right?
Right.
The other side of that is someone is asking, is this only for Arizona? As it relates to the reverse trade show and all that?
It is not. It started out, we're kind of just gearing it and focusing on the local small businesses, but it's really grown. We do have companies that do fly in and attend our events. So yeah, no, it's national.
Wow, okay.
Everybody's welcome.
Everybody is welcome. Okay, we may have to, all of the viewers or listeners, we may have to show up the next time. So be there for the next reverse trade show.
Yes.
And then someone also asked, can out-of-state vendors do business with the city as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we welcome vendors from all over the nation, all sizes, all types. Just if your business is, if you provide a service and a product or equipment that we can utilize, we welcome the competition. We're actually always seeking to expand our competition in all our projects and really seek the best value for Tempe.
Got it. Okay. And this next one we're going to tap into is the procurement section because you did a great segue into the purchasing side of it, Lisa, without knowing it. So the procurement side of it. And this next one talks a little bit about the city's spend, right? So what is the city's current budget and how many departments make up the city? Or an estimate of how much the city spends?
On that, the budget is about $1.7 billion for City of Tempe. And a big chunk of that, about 770 million of that is related to capital improvement projects and the goods and services that we buy. And so there's a big chunk. We historically just in the procurement office, we spend about 135 million each year in true supplier spend. So that's the amount we have. We support 20 departments across the city, and that's the kind of the neat thing in procurement is it's such a diverse world of requirements and resources that the city needs in order to function. And it truly is amazing when you think about the variety of products and services, and that's why that whole market analysis that we talked about, that market approach, that's why it's so important, is because we have such need for resources and unique things across the board. So, but yeah, we're a city of about 190,000 citizens in our city, about 1,600 employees. Just a little some of our metrics there.
I love the metrics. They were broken down perfectly. And I think the component of it that really got me excited was how you broke down how much was actually spent within the procurement department alone. So I can only imagine how other departments look and how, strategic it would be for a business to, align themselves with a specific department that needs their products and services. So definitely a big deal. $1.7 billion.
That's total budget. Yeah, total budget for Tempe for fiscal year 24-25.
Okay. All right. I just dropped it in the chat just so if anybody missed it, I just want to make sure. But okay, so now that we know how much the city is spending, let's talk about how the city is spending that money. And the different procurement thresholds. Can we share a little bit about that, what that currently looks like?
Yeah. You bet. So the current procurement thresholds we have, so 0 to 5,000 is no quote required. So that's really just on best value, what's best for the city, and then from 5,000 to $99,999, so just under 100,000. That's called an informal level. So we're required to get 3 quotes, a minimum of 3 quotes at that level. And then, and the nice thing about that level is we award to the most advantageous. So I think that's important from a supplier perspective about our methodology. So when we're dealing under 100,000, we are awarding to the most advantageous solution, not necessarily the lowest price. Price is always important, but we really want to try to focus on best value. And then from 100,000 up, that is the formal world that requires city council approval, full bidding, full bid list distribution, And again, we have a variety of tools that we can contract from there, but those are pretty much our categories currently.
Nice. I love the breakdown. As it relates to, and again, you can catch me typing in the midst of all of it. But the breakdown, and then when it comes down to opportunities that are in that micro purchase threshold at 0 to 5,000, is that a purchase that departments can make themselves, or does it still go through procurement?
Yes, they can do that. So, most cities have a procurement card program, a credit card program. And we do too. We have about 450 cards that are issued out to our employees. And so when you think about City of Tempe, I would think about it like we're decentralized transactionally. So our end users, our department employees, they have a certain level of procurement authority with that P card to be able to commit the city. And then, yes, the P card does give the end user the ability to purchase in the field. They follow our term contracts and our awards that we establish, but there is some flexibility there at the user level.
Got it. And so that you said decentralized transactionally. So I always thought it was just either centralized or decentralized. So to hear, it's based on that threshold, it can be centralized, but still have decentralized transactions. Love the distinction. Could you share a little bit more about that, Michael?
Sure. So again, it really comes from the P card program. So that introduced the idea of decentralization when it comes to transactions. So the users do have that ability, but then the vast majority of things does come through on the traditional requisition purchase order, and then those POs are issued from the procurement office. So we really are kind of straddling that. But the users have some capability. Some organizations have no P cards, so then everything is centralized transactionally. All the requisitions go through, POs go through the procurement office. So we're a little bit decentralized in that respect. We're still doing all the POs that go through, but yeah, that's just a little bit. We're centralized when it comes to contracting. So all of the formal procurements come through the central procurement office. Just another little nuance, some organizations, when it comes to municipal organizations, there's a split sometimes between the construction, procurement, and professional services. And in our city, that's true as well, where that is handled through our engineering division. And then everything else is handled with us. So from a supplier perspective, if you're a contractor or a professional service firm, then just know that you probably need to cover two sides of the house. When it comes to municipal worlds, that's not always the case, but generally that kind of follows suit. So make sure you're covering both sides of the house if you fit into that category. If you're on it, everything else is handled through the procurement office when it comes to contracting.
Got it. Okay. So thank you for the distinction. And then when it comes down to actually doing business, now we know how the city spends. What is the current process for the formal solicitations on how to do business with the city?
So for formal solicitations, the city will either issue an invitation for bid, a request for proposal, or a request for qualifications. We typically use the qualifications for development projects. Looking at the other two, probably about 70% of our formal solicitations are the request for a proposal. We like to evaluate all our projects, not just based on price alone, but really on a whole range of criteria, their experience, their methodology to perform the work, the experience qualifications of their staff, their subcontractors. It kind of varies per contract. But we're really focused on best value here, and setting up the criteria based upon each individual project and how it best meets the needs for our user departments.
Like that. And you mentioned the actual procurement methods. And I know this is something that we typically don't talk about, but can we talk about the difference between the invitation to bid and the others that we mentioned?
Oh, sure. So the invitation for bid is where we clearly spell out what it is that we need. And then the vendor submits their bid, and it's looked at just price. If they're responsive and they meet all the needs of the of the procurement, so they've signed their offer form, they submitted on time. As long as they meet the specifications, and they're the lowest bidder, then the award goes to them. For the request for proposal, it's a little bit broader than that. Price is definitely a factor and something that we do consider, but it's weighted against lots of other criteria that we look at as well. A company may not offer the lowest price, but they're offering us the best solution to our problem that we're looking to solve. Their employees and staff have the best credentials. Their response time is faster. They offer a better warranty. These are all those kind of issues that we can look at for a request for proposal. So we tend to lean really heavily on those.
Nice. And I think that's one of the components of just being able to know like the distinction between the two. And this is the final piece that we wanted to kind of add. Are there any incentives or programs for small businesses or like any prompt payments or any of those things? Any incentives for small businesses?
We tend to certainly we'll take advantage of prompt payment discounts if they're offered from the firm, and we have a goal of trying to pay within 30 days of the invoice, and a lot of times we can beat that. That should be considered an outside because we know it's important to get that money transferred. And we really don't have any incentives, financial incentives for small business, with the one exception when it comes to a sales tax offset. So if a Tempe-based company that is bidding on a contract for us and they compete against outside firms, what we'll do is we'll offset the Tempe sales tax portion in the evaluation. So the Tempe sales tax is 8.1%. And of that, 1.8% actually comes to Tempe. That's our part of that sales tax, and the rest goes to the state, and some goes to the county. But we'll take that 1.8% and deduct it from the bid price when we actually evaluate pricing, because we see that as a pass-through. Because we'll pay the vendor the full sales tax, and then they'll remit the 1.8 to us. So it's a wash. So when we evaluate for contracts, we'll take that little deduction. It's not a lot, and it doesn't change the outcome very many times, but it does occasionally. That 1.8% discount for a Tempe-based company would possibly help in that respect. And other municipal environments I know have a similar approach, and it's really not an advantage. It's just this recognition of the fact that 1.8% is really a pass-through expense that will come back. So.
And that makes perfect sense. With that pass-through aspect of it, I would like to talk a little bit about the discount incentives and how, like, just to give an example of how a business could offer some discounts to, I guess, trigger prompt payment.
Like an early payment discount?
Yes, early payment discount.
Yeah, early payment discount. So if firms can always offer that. So on every public entity's price sheet, there's always a category for an early payment discount. And the interesting thing is, if it's offered for at least 30 days, then we can calculate that into the evaluation process. So if a company would like to say, hey, we'll give you a discount of 1% net 30, then that allows us to actually consider that in the evaluation process, because there's a good chance we'll hit that. But if a company offers us, and they can offer a 2% meaning, we'll give you a 2% discount if you can pay me within 10 days of my invoice. We'll certainly try to take advantage of that, but we typically don't consider that in the evaluation process, because there's no guarantee we can achieve that. So, we like to try to get it, and we'll do our best to try to take advantage of that. But just a little more inside information with our suppliers, when you're offering a discount, certainly that's a good offer, and we'll try to take advantage of that every time we can. But for evaluation purposes, it needs to be 30 days.
That was a good tip. We appreciate that. We definitely do. Now, for the final question, is there any information or any parting wisdom that you would like to leave with the small businesses who are listening to this episode?
Always ask. If you have questions or concerns or not sure about something, always ask. We want to work with you. We know our process isn't easy, but we want to make it easy. We really want to like understand if there are barriers that are preventing you from doing business with us, what those are, and how we can work with you, and to eliminate those barriers and maybe reduce those. Maybe our requirements are too high. Maybe our insurance is we're asking for too much. Maybe, you know, if you come close, or ask, always ask us. If we have a solicitation on the street and you just received it and you need additional time, you really want to respond, but you just need additional time, ask. There's a chance we can extend the due date and allow you that extra time. We're happy to talk to you, make sure you understand the documents. If you don't, any of the terms and conditions, like what does this mean? Sometimes we can explain it and you won't have to go out and hire an attorney to try to explain it to you. Just ask. Like Michael was saying, all of our information is public record. You can look at any of our contracts at any time. You can view previous responses to, if you don't know how to respond, we can provide you some examples of previous successful ones, provide you with guidance to help you. So.
Like that, just ask.
Can I just add just one real quick? I like everything Lisa said, and just the power of the debrief. So when a supplier finishes a procurement process, whether they won or they lost, there is a huge amount of information that we captured as part of that process. What a market study it was, right? Because we invited, maybe we get 8 to 10 proposals. We've done a very detailed price analysis. We have current information, and a supplier should request that, right? An interested supplier should request a debrief session, and then we'll sit down post-award when everything is public knowledge, and we can sit down and show all that stuff. So the power of the debrief. And the other thing I would say is just know the power of cooperative procurement and how it can leverage our suppliers. So for example, in Arizona, we have a cooperative that's titled SAVE, Strategic Alliance for Volume Expenditures. So SAVE is the acronym. And most public entities in Arizona belong to SAVE, and other states have similar local cooperatives. But if you win a SAVE contract in Tempe, then you could actually potentially leverage that contract to other SAVE members. Other SAVE members don't have to buy off it, but they're eligible to buy off City of Tempe's contract if it's written as a SAVE contract. So knowing the value of a cooperative contract, that if you win a contract, make sure you understand if it's if it's cooperative eligible, and then you can leverage that effort into other public entities that are part of that cooperative member. So there's an enormous amount of power when it comes to that. And again, we can talk and educate on that issue, but those are some tips I think that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Said that was the last question, but Michael, you just opened it up. So you mentioned the SAVE cooperative and having that language to make sure that it's SAVE eligible. What does that look like? And is that the same as piggybacking?
It is very similar to piggybacking, yes. So it can be in different versions, but so again, we have around 300 public entities in Arizona, and most of those are part of SAVE. We've signed a cooperative agreement amongst our organizations. And so most organizations that are doing bidding, we include that paragraph. And so it really is there's a paragraph that goes in the boilerplate, basically, that says, hey, firm, just be aware that this is a SAVE eligible contract, and that, you have the right to be able to market that if you so choose to make it available to other public entities that are part of that network. So if a company wins a contract in City of Tempe and we have SAVE eligible language in that, which we generally put in most of our solicitations, then they could potentially go to, Town of Gilbert, City of Chandler, City of Mesa out in Arizona, and say, hey, look at it. We have a contract. We won a contract over in City of Tempe. It had SAVE language, and just want to make sure you're aware that we're available under that. So, and that entity can make a decision whether they would like to use it or not. That's certainly, again, that their decision. But provided it's SAVE, there's cooperative language, then they can use that to leverage and market their contract.
Got it. So strategic alliance for volume expenditures, SAVE. I love it. That's amazing. So Yeah, we're gonna have you both back on the podcast again. Let's give it a little bit of time, but I know there's so much more information that we could kind of dive in and go through, especially with each of your resumes being very extensive in this space. So I definitely appreciate you both coming on the podcast. Um, Anyone who's listening, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to this podcast. If you see this video and you know for a fact this information needs to be shared, share it out. Please do. Don't withhold the information. But also on on the other note, Lisa and Michael have given you so much information today about doing business with the city of Tempe. And I don't know. I'm ready to do business with you. So I don't know if this information, if this information is something that is interests you, definitely take that step. Reach out. At the very least, see how you can provide some value with the work that your business does. So until next time, thank you all so much. We'll see you in the next episode. All right, that is it. The episode is complete.
All
But
right.
wow, thank you. It's so much information. How are you feeling? You feeling,